Welcome to Morning Momentum with Coffey, a podcast that's dedicated to motivating you with inspiring stories through the power of momentum. Each week, business growth leader, international speaker, trainer, coach, and author Betti Coffey sits down with a new industry leader to find out who they are, what they're doing, and how the power of momentum drives them towards success. Because when you've got momentum, stuff gets done, things happen, and you're on top of the world. You can accomplish anything. And that's what this show is all about, creating unstoppable momentum. It's Morning Momentum with Coffey. Take it away, Betti.
Welcome to the Morning Momentum Podcast with Coffey. I am so happy you're here. Wait till you find out about my guest today. As you know, we're always talking about if you have momentum in your life, you can accomplish absolutely anything. Well, wait till you meet Dr. Kevin Karlson. He's my guest. Let me fill you in on something. I have many people that ask to be guests on this show, but pretty much whether I go to them or they come to me, they have to have a very certain great quality of momentum about them. They have to have a certain drive. They want to make accomplishments. They haven't always been perfect. They haven't always succeeded right off the bat in everything they do. No. Often, when they haven't accomplished what they want to accomplish, it sets them back for maybe a nanosecond. And then they keep rocking and rolling and they accomplish what they want to accomplish with unstoppable goals. They are committed to growth. And that's Dr. Kevin Karlson. He believes in excellence, just like all of our guests do. And I'm so thrilled he's on the show today because he's going to share his particular professional, really incredibly professional insight, his cutting edge ideas, the strategies that have made him a leader in numerous different industries. And these are unstoppable ideas and an unstoppable force that truly generates momentum. So I'm excited about having Dr. Kevin Karlson on the show. Hi, doctor. How are you?
Good morning, Betti. Happy to see you.
Happy to see you. Even though we're in COVID, we're not in person, but by gosh, we're really using this Zoom, aren't we?
We are.
Okay, let me tell you about Dr. Kevin Karlson. I don't want to mess this up, so as you all know, I put on my glasses when I don't want to mess something up. Dr. Kevin Karlson is the founder and CEO of Paradox Productions Media, LLC. Paradox Productions Media, also known as PPM, was founded by Dr. Karlson after more than 40 years as a litigation consultant and producer of trial media for family lawyers. PPM is a producer of industrial and training videos for law firms and corporate clients, trial demonstrative videos for divorce litigation, and he's the producer of the documentary-style reality TV show, Help My Family with Dr. K. So I got a real celebrity on the line here. I love it. He has also been a strategy advisor for Advisory Cloud and an executive coach and consultant. Trained as a professional in both law and psychology, Kevin has worked with executives and professionals in both business and litigation to improve their strategic thinking and communication skills. He has served as a senior consultant in the Strategic Learning Center at Texas Instruments and has been an executive coach and leadership consultant for executives and teams across the United States for companies such as Blockbuster, Nokia, Mattel, and Concentra. His career as a coach and consultant spans more than 40 years in law, mental health, and business. Kevin has been a leader in a number of for-profit and nonprofit businesses and organizations, and he's been selected to lead numerous professional and community boards and committees. His many professional honors and awards includes being listed in Who's Who, not just in Texas, but he's listed in the Who's Who in the world. Kevin received his PhD in psychology from the University of Texas Southwestern in Dallas in 1983 and his JD from SMU's Dedman School of Law in 1984. So it is my absolute privilege and pleasure and honor to welcome Dr. Kevin Karlson to the Morning Momentum with Coffey podcast. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Betty.
I am so happy you're here. Okay, that was a phenomenal intro, if I do say so myself. But let me just ask you a question. I know when people hear about jury selection and the psychology of picking a jury and everything, are you kind of like the guy on TV, Dr. Bull?
Yes, I was the Dr. Bull of divorce litigation in Texas.
Whoa, whoa. That's okay. Now everybody's thinking they got that image in their mind here. But I just have to ask you about that because you were one of the first people to do that, weren't you? Back in the 80s, I think.
I was, and I had to go around explaining to lawyers what I did and how I could help them. So it was a real challenge.
It was, but I bet once they got a taste of it, they absolutely loved it and utilized the heck out of you. Yeah, makes sense. Okay, so here we are. It's just a really, really tough time, and I'm thrilled to have you on the show. When we look at the current business climate that we're all going through right now, what would you say are the biggest barriers to building and maintaining momentum today in the middle of COVID, in the middle of our economy, in the middle of all of our racial situations that are going on? What are the biggest challenges we have?
Well, as we've discussed, one of the major challenges is that COVID has changed the way that businesses operate. You and I can't be in the same room doing this like we normally would, and so it's affected all businesses in terms of their face-to-face communications, and especially in the video business, when you kind of have to be in the same room to do a shoot, it's really changed our business significantly. The systemic racism issue has just kind of emerged in the last 60, 90 days, something like that. And businesses who are not paying attention to the ways in which their businesses have unintentionally or intentionally discriminated against minority groups are now beginning to feel the heat from the activists who are saying, hey, enough is enough. We need to be treated equally. So that's affecting how, especially retail businesses have a lot of person-to-person contact. They're being strongly affected by that.
Yeah.
And then there's a huge problem right now because COVID has affected capital markets, and so businesses are short in revenue and access to capital has shrunk dramatically, and so there are real financial pressures on businesses as well.
Yeah, this is so true. It's hitting everybody. Well, we're going to come out of this. We're going to come out of it with clarity. That's what I'm telling my audiences right now. We just need clarity and momentum. So let me ask you, when it comes to the COVID pandemic, how much of a challenge has it been given to businesses in communication? We have tremendous communication challenges right now during COVID for businesses, both small and large. So what's going on there with COVID and the challenges that businesses face?
Well, the communication challenge is probably the biggest one. Most businesses now, as a result of the lockdown early on in the pandemic, sent a lot of their people home. And so a lot of people are working remotely that never intended to work remotely. And there's a big adjustment that's going on both for the people at corporate who still come into the office and from the remote workers at home who are home with their kids all the time. And I know this is beginning to be an issue because they're starting to see memes on Twitter and on Facebook of people making jokes about their Zoom meeting fatigue and how they wish they could just change the channel because there's nothing more boring than watching a meeting on Zoom. So the communication challenges are probably the primary one that I see right now.
Communication's huge. I agree. It's amazing. Even as a speaker, when I'm giving a presentation, a virtual keynote, I have to really work a lot harder at keeping my audience engaged and using the chat and all the other things that come along with Zoom. But you've got to keep people engaged and you can't just give up on it. So it's a real challenge and that's not going to go away, is it? It's
not. And I used to coach a lot of leaders about the importance of having agendas and keeping meetings short and sticking to the topic. And that advice is 10 times more important now because normally in meetings, if you're sitting around a conference room table and the meeting gets boring, you can pass notes to the guy next to you, or you can exchange glances across the table, roll your eyes, and everybody kind of knows what's going on. But when you're in a Zoom meeting, you're sort of stuck, and so if the meeting is boring, people just, they tune out, or sometimes they walk out. I heard a story last week about a local Dallas judge wanted to try to do jury trials on Zoom. And so they picked a jury. The jury's all in their homes. They're doing the video from remote from the courtroom. And in the middle of the trial, one of the jurors just got up and went to the bathroom and walked out. And so,
that's a big no-no. Yeah.
In the courtroom, that you couldn't do that, right? Everybody's got to wait till the break. But when you're sitting at home, and the trials can be incredibly boring, and so it's like a Zoom meeting, right? Sometimes you just want to shut down the camera and go get a drink. So
it's true.
It's
true.
So there's just challenges involved in remote video meetings that just need to be paid attention to. And if you're going to do good meetings, you just need to be more organized and more on point.
We also have to have empathy, I think, for our Zoom participants, people that are on Zooms, maybe 4, 5, 6 hours a day. I mean, they're going through a lot right now. I mean, you can share with us some of the things they're going through and why they're losing their enthusiasm for remote meetings. And it's even tougher to keep their attention. But what are some of the pressures that they're encountering at home that they have to deal with that's making this tougher, even though you got a dog that barks? I mean, dogs barking now on a Zoom are no big deal. A few years ago, it was like, oh yeah, that was my dog. So sorry. But
Right.
Now they're part of the Zooms. So,
right.
Why is it so hard for people to keep their attention span, and what's going on in their lives right now that makes it so difficult to do this type of communication?
Well, there's a list, but the primary one is, everybody's working from home because there's a virus out there that's fatal for some people and makes a lot of people sick, and doctors are having a hard time figuring how to treat it because it's new. So the health concerns and the whole issues about self-quarantining and wearing a mask and social distancing, that's an entirely new set of stresses for people working from home. The second thing is that lots of moms were really enthusiastic about working from home because they got to spend more time with their kids, and for the first month was kind of cool because they could help them with phone work, all that. But what happens is after a month or so, you realize you're spending more time working because you can't get away, and you don't have that 1 hour commute each way to decompress. And so, there's just no break from work. And so, lots of people now working from home they're not working 10 or 11 hours, they're working 12 hours, and they're juggling kids and making meals and dealing with the spouse and all the other stuff that goes with being in a family at the same time. So it's an increase in their workload is what's happening.
Yeah. It's also difficult psychologically speaking, Dr. Kevin. But
Yes.
Whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, it's going to affect you. I mean, I would think that these Zoom calls and working virtually out of your home, it doesn't matter which personality you fall into. It's got challenges for both, right? I mean, I would think it does.
Yeah, exactly right. The extroverts are the ones who are the most affected because they tend to get their energy from their social interactions with people. And, if you spend your whole time on Zoom meeting calls, lots of times you're not getting enough of that social interaction to keep your energy up.
Right.
Introverts, have a kind of a different problem, which is if you're on Zoom meeting calls all day, you don't get enough time alone. And so people are having, to juggle these issues related to, how much social interaction they actually need. And most people never think about that because they get into a routine with work and home where they have enough time to, interact with people, go to happy hour, come home, deal with the kids, or, they work from home because they like working from home anyway, but, too much alone time is not good either. So it is a challenge for both the introverts and the extroverts.
Plus, we always have that cloud right now, and I'm not talking about the Godzilla sandstorm thing, but we always have that cloud right now of uncertainty. We always have that cloud of when's COVID going to be over? When are we going to get the antivirus? When are we going to be well and resume whatever our new normal is going to be, in addition to our jobs? Gee, is my job going to continue am I still going to be doing this? Am I in threat? That's tough too. So you combine so many of these pressures, and it's hard.
It is very hard. And, to be fair, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, the economy was rocking along at a record pace. Everybody was wildly optimistic their future was going to be the same way. And so, one day everything is really fine, and the next day the economy is shut down. And that kind of a sudden change is hard for everybody. Now, some people adjust to it more quickly than others, but everybody has to adjust to it in some way or another. And, you have to adjust to it from home with your family. So in terms of business adjustments, it's a double whammy.
It is. It really is. In some of my keynotes, when we're talking about momentum and dealing with change and how difficult dealing with change is for many, many people, and reinventing themselves. This is a time of reinvention. And I was watching, a Clint Eastwood movie. That's how crazy I'm going lately. I was watching a Clint Eastwood movie, and I forget the name of I think Heartbreak Ridge or something. I forget. But anyway, it was old. But anyway, I love this theme. And I find this so important right now. It was improvise, adapt, and overcome. Improvise, adapt, and That's the best, yes. Military improvise, adapt, and overcome I can do. But that's so true. We have life's change. It's different. So we have to improvise, we have to adapt, and we will overcome. Exactly. So along those lines, when you think about that, what do leaders and managers today need to do differently to address the numerous challenges their employees are facing?
Well, I love the Container Store. I think they're just one of the best business organizations around, and they're always voted the top 100 good places to work in the country. So they obviously got some things figured out, and one of their sort of 7 key principles is communication is leadership.
Yes, I love that.
This is one of those times when leaders have to communicate more, in more detail, in more specificity, more often. In more person to person, even if it's video person to person, and maintain the social networks that basically are the basis for all large organizations. The org chart's one thing, that's great, but everybody knows that once you walk in the door on Monday morning, who knows who and how people talk to each other in the hallway is really how business gets done. And so in the absence of those kind of informal social networks, you can't just meet somebody over at the coffee machine. You have to be intentional about communicating. And especially for high-level leaders, they usually have 7 or 8 people who are their direct reports. It's really important that you talk to them every day, keep them updated on what the big picture is about the business, have a really heart-to-heart conversation about are we doing the things we need to do to keep making money and to keep our people employed and make sure that our business is around a month from now when this COVID thing gets done. And so it's really important to have those, hard conversations with people. And if people are, lots of people are home struggling and they're not working very well. And so you need to have the conversations about how's it going? If it's not going well, what can we do to help you? Who are you talking to? Do you need a coach? Providing the resources to make sure that people can perform at a level to keep the business viable. Because, lots of businesses are not going to make it. The lack of basically retail traffic, especially for the hospitality business, means a lot of small businesses are going to go under. And for the bigger businesses that have the capacity to absorb this kind of a shock, they're not going to do well either. And if they're going to bounce, the people who are working need to be working productively, and they need to be communicating more to the people that report to them so everybody knows what's going on and what are we working for here.
Right.
This may be the time to change goals and strategies so that our goal is to make sure that we don't have to fire anybody and make enough money this month to get through to the next month. So that kind of shift in the strategic thinking is just critical for people to make it.
I love what you just said, the shift in strategical thinking. In other words, the way we were doing business before has really got to change now. And as you said, it's the leader and manager's responsibility to over communicate, to give people a comfort level that you care, that you are doing virtual hugs, but you care about them. How are you doing? How are you feeling? How is your family? Are you okay? Let me tell you what's going on in the company. Here's what we're doing to achieve this goal, or at least make changes here. And the more, I mean, you'll understand whatever the psychological term is for it, but the more you communicate, the better people feel about the situation, the more trust they have, and maybe they're not as apprehensive as they would be, and they become a better team player or whatever else is needed in that organization because of basic communication.
Absolutely correct.
Which is almost on steroids. It needs to be on steroids. Also, especially right now, isn't it important for businesses to be reaching out to their communities, encouraging employees to reach out to different communities for different benefits, and reaching out and doing things to help the community more? I think that is something that also needs to be done to make people feel good about themselves and their organization and what's going on. Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah, Betty, that's very true. So you see a lot of restaurants right now, they're making meals. They're not open, they can't operate, or except maybe curb service. But they're spending a lot of their time and energy now providing free food and free meals to first responders. A lot of community organizations are taking the time to reach out into the community more now, because if people are at home, they can go to their neighbors or to a local food bank and volunteer. And so those are the kinds of things that help people cope, because we know that one of the things that is part of successful coping in a stressful situation is a commitment to something larger than yourself.
Yes,
so
yes.
People who are engaged with their communities, doing whatever they can do to help other people, have a better attitude, are more optimistic, and do better at coping with the stress of a stressful situation, which this clearly is, than people who get stuck at home and are focused on their own concerns, or whether they're going to have a job, or all those things that will come rushing up into the forefront when you're isolated. So reaching out to the community and getting involved in helping other people is just critical to successful coping.
Yep. And I was reading also, and I believe you've mentioned this numerous times, that an organization has to be very, very in tune with their employees, what I like to call energy elements, whether they're mental energy, emotional energy, physical energy, or just spiritual energy. They have to be in tune to that and give people some rope here. Give them the opportunities to take care of themselves, to try to eat better, to exercise better, to meditate, to give them, maybe after 90 minutes of working, give them a 10, 15-minute break here to just kind of get back some of their energy, get back their momentum, get back, refresh themselves physically, mentally, the whole thing. Companies have to be very, very in tune to that because of what their employees are going through, right?
Absolutely agree.
Yeah. That's so important. So I love what you're saying. All this is so pertinent. And so talk to me now. I mean, obviously, many of the things that you and your companies do are critical to the health and the wellness and the future of businesses out there. So tell me how your company is responding to these challenges now, and how they can help others, how you can help others.
So one of the things that we're doing is we're talking to companies about the importance of doing regular video communication to the people in their organizations. As I was saying earlier, for the C-level people, they need to be having daily video conferences, short, with their direct reports, and just getting updates. How are you? How are the kids? What's going on at home? Just talk to me about how you're doing, so that they sort of keep their finger on the pulse of how the people are doing personally. And then have a short conversation about, so what are the business challenges of the day? What happened since we talked yesterday? And just keep in touch with constant feedback, more input, answer questions especially, and give the folks a chance to vent a little bit if they're frustrated so that they have the feeling like, hey, we're not in this alone, that this is a group effort, and as the CBS folks are saying, we're in this together. So it's really important for us to coach the leaders about how to do it differently. Lots of leaders are just used to having people, call them, send them an email, walk into their office, whatever, when there's a problem. And, that just isn't going to work now. People are overwhelmed with, there's too many emails, there's way too many, Zoom meetings. And so people are just fatigued. And so it really puts more pressure on leaders to reach out, communicate, show other people how their direct reports, how to communicate directly in using the tools that are available. Zoom is a good one. I mean, it can be overdone, but Zoom is a really good tool for staying in touch. And then, as you said, encouraging people that, hey, this meeting's been going on for 90 minutes. Everybody go take a break, come back. We'll see you in 15 minutes, and let people give permission for them to take time away from work. And especially, when they're having these conversations, they need to be talking to people about, hey, what time did you knock off last night? If you were working at 8 o'clock at night, that's too much.
Right. Right.
It's way too easy when you're at home and the office is just, 3 steps from the kitchen to work until midnight. Can't do that. This is a marathon. It's not a sprint. So you got to encourage people to, monitor their own resources and not overwork themselves, and to, communicate, take time to take care of themselves so that they can really be effective. So that's the kind of things we're trying to communicate to the business guys. For the legal guys, it's more a matter of course, are shut down now. If they're going to get new clients, it's going to be on the phone. They're going to spend a lot of more time doing telephone conferences to get people to sign up and get ready to do whatever family law litigation they're going to do. And they're having to talk to lots of women who are filing for divorce now, have been trapped with their spouses who they didn't like for 3 months. And so for women who are abusive relationships, they're not happy, and they're probably at risk in some ways. And so for the family lawyers, it's more a matter of, what's going on at home? Are you safe? Do you need to get out? We can do things that will help you be safe until we can get to court. So there's some pressures on the family lawyers to do a little bit more listening and less talking in these interactions with their clients, so that they can find out what's going on and who's at risk.
Okay, so let's talk about your company. Who is your perfect client? I know we have many listeners listening to you right now, and they're probably shaking their head like I am, like, yay, yes, this is also true. Who is your perfect client? Who do you like to work with, and what's it like to work with you?
So my perfect client in the business world is C-level, or maybe one level below that, a director level person in a smaller, medium-sized company who's got 100 to 200 people or more, who has a remote workforce. Those are the people who are most likely to be, we can help most effectively. We can teach them to use the tools. They have the resources to be able to use Zoom or Skype or whatever they want to use for remote communications, and teach them how to set it up so that the lighting is good, so that the audio is good, about how to structure a meeting so it's crisp and has an agenda, and they're not spending their whole day on Zoom, and using the tools effectively so that they can work with their remote workforce. Most of us have never done that before, so it's new. We're all trying to figure it out.
It's brand new. Yes, it is. It's brand new. This is true. Okay, so for people, if they want to reach out to you, how can they contact you? We're going to have, for those of you that are watching the show, we've got it right underneath Kevin's chin as far as his contact information. But for you, those of you that are listening to us, Kevin, tell them how they can contact you, please.
So my email address is karlson.kevin@gmail.com, or the phone number for Paradox Production Media is 972-839-2394. You can reach me on social media. You can reach me through Facebook, or even through Twitter if you want to, but email would be my preferred way for making initial contacts.
Gotcha. And once more time, give us that email address, please.
Yes, Karlson.Kevin@gmail.com.
That's pretty easy. I like that. Even I could do that. There you go. You've been absolutely a total fountain of knowledge today, as you always are, and really touched on some good things. I think very, very good, important things for everybody in this world that's going through it, whether you're a business professional, personally, professionally, everything that is affecting us now, you can help us with. So thank you so much for being on Morning Momentum with Coffee podcast. I really appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you
very much.
Thanks.
I'm thrilled to have you here. And my listeners, my watchers, my subscribers, take a deep breath, please. Let's take one right now. Just take a big deep breath and let it out. We're going to get through this. We are going to move forward. We're going to do that. We don't give up. We have our clarity, the phenomenal clarity that Dr. Kevin Karlson has given us today. We're going to move forward with clarity and momentum. We will achieve what we need to achieve because we can generate our own momentum, and with the right mindset, we're going to accomplish anything. So thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you very, very much. Be sure, subscribe to the program, Morning Momentum with Coffee, and I'll see you next time. Take care of yourself in every way, emotionally, mentally, physically, emotional, mental, everything, right? Spiritually, just take care of yourself, please, and I'll see you soon. Thank you, Dr. Kevin Karlson.
Thank you, Betti. Have a good day.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you later. Take care. Live with momentum. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Morning Momentum with Coffee. Momentum matters more than strength. Your persistence will always win. Drive change, ignite cultures, and accelerate growth with your own personal momentum. To find out more about Betti, follow her on Facebook at Betti Coffee Presents for more inspiring stories just like this one. If you liked what you heard, leave us a rating and review. And if you want to hear more, subscribe to Morning Momentum with Coffee on your favorite podcasting platform. And remember, the greater the momentum, the harder it is to stop. Momentum creates motivation. Motivation creates opportunity. And opportunity creates results. See you next time.